You are probably, like most of us, who have been on this path of awakening for longer than a minute. You know a lot of things. You've read the books, you've purchased courses, you've done seminars, and you know, as a highly sensitive person, you know a lot of stuff. But if you're going through changes in your life right now, as so many people are, all that stuff that we know doesn't really help us. You might be experiencing looping fear or anxiety or doubt that you know intellectually there's a way around it. You know that everything will work itself out in your life. And yet, the doubt or the anxiety or whatever it is that comes up with you still shows up. I just worked with a client who said she wakes up in the middle of the night trying to balance her bank accounts. We have to remember that this process that we're in right now, as higher and higher levels of light, which is really just encoded information, keeps coming in, that it's pushing up many of these old beliefs that we have. When we wake up in the night or when we're hit with anxiety, it's showing us what beliefs are at play. Universally, we are waking up from the realization that we are not our mind, which is really the ego, which is the 2-year-old or the 5-year-old inside of us. And we're realizing that we're here to live as a soul that just happens to have a body. All these old stories that we tell ourselves are coming up. I call it Welcome to Being Human. And the stories are something like, I'm not safe. Nobody ever listens to me. Why bother? I'm not supported. For those of us women who have father wounds, I had those. The stories sound like, I really have to do all this so that I can have the life that I want. A father wound is when we believe deep, deep down that we're not supported just for being who we are, just for existing. All these things are coming up right now, and everybody's at a different place with this. But what we have to remember is, what do we do? And that's what I want to talk about today. So what do we do when you're triggered? What do we do so that we can get off this hamster wheel of contracting, being afraid, feeling anxious, and then typically, if you're like most people, you go into your mind to try to figure out a solution. And that is absolutely the worst thing to do. When you're triggered, when anxiety comes up or doubt comes up, it's just a decision that you made about life and about yourself by the time you were 7 years old. When you're triggered, the thing to do is to feel the feeling. First of all, oh, this is my old friend doubt. This is my old friend anxiety. Okay, anxiety, come on in. And then we need to separate the story that we're telling. When my own life collapsed after my divorce, or I should say, when life as I knew it collapsed, I scared the hell out of myself with stories. Oh, you're too old. You don't know what to do. Money won't come in. On and on and on. And this is really what we all do. We tell ourselves a story because when we go into our heads with a story, it's actually like a release valve on a hot water heater. When we tell ourselves a story and we intellectualize, the feeling in our body actually goes down. It's why people with addictions have them. It's a way to not feel. So when you're triggered, we need to feel. Yep, this is fear. Yes, this is anxiety. Yes, this is whatever it is that you're feeling. It takes 90 seconds, 45 to 90 seconds for the emotional wave to move through your body. That's all. Separate the story. Don't tell any stories. Just feel. And then the question is, and what would I love here? What would I love? You're teaching your mind how to pivot. Feel the feeling, let it move, and then go to what would I love? A client that I just worked with decided that she's going to put a Post-it note on her desktop at work to say, I choose peace instead of this. And that's actually a lesson from A Course in Miracles. I choose peace instead of this. Years ago, when I was still reacting to everything, I used that. You're teaching your brain to get out of reactive mode. You're creating new neural pathways in your brain. You're teaching your brain and your body that you can feel that an intense feeling like doubt or anxiety. You can feel the pure frequency of it without a story. And then you can move into your heart when you put some space in there and ask, what would I love? And then you go to that. Why do we have to teach ourselves to do that? Well, when we were little, until we were about 7, we looked around, having come in from all that is, knowing that we're connected to everyone and everything. We individuated. We looked around and said, this is how it is. This is how relationships work. This is how they feel about money and value and worth. This is what love looks like. This is how they handle difficult things. In my family, we were worriers. A lot of you had worriers for parents. So you have that habit going on. When we were little, we just decided, well, this is how it is. And this is how I am. Because little kids also say, and I'm the problem. So this thing that we call our ego is really just a bunch of survival strategies. And when life is asking us to change, when your current life is no longer serving you, if you've outgrown a relationship, if you're just becoming the full you, all these ideas that you decided were true when you were little kick in. I'm not safe. I'm not worthy. There's about 10 very common beliefs that we all took on. There's nothing to analyze. They're called welcome to being human. When you set a goal, when you decide that your next year is going to be different than this one, your old beliefs kick in, and they kick in a big way. Your nervous system fires. It's really trying to keep you safe. And that's what the fear and the anxiety is. Watch out, watch out. If you do this, you're going to get hurt. Watch out. But we feel this and we let those feelings, which are really just assumptions that we made when we were little, or they are assumptions that we inherited from our family and from our ancestors, we let those assumptions determine what's possible. And that's what we need to question. So after we feel the feeling, after we feel the doubt or feel the fear literally in our body, and then put some space in there, drop any story, and then pivot to, and what would I love? Then go to peace. After you're through that emotional experience, then you get to look at, well, what was I assuming here that would make me feel that? And you get to question that assumption. A really good exercise is to make a list. When you're triggered, just jot down, what's your story behind that? The story is always going to be some version of, I won't get what I want, or I will be harmed. Always. And is that true? No. It doesn't have to be true. But when we assume something, we make it true. We expect that result. This is how we get off the reaction mode. We start to be deliberate. We start to be mindful of, wait a minute, what am I telling myself? Do I want that to be true? Is it true? Has it always been true? Has there never been an exception? And the answer will always be no, it's not always been true. There's always an exception because there's not one reality out there. We only experience what we're aware of, what we're focusing on, and what we're assuming. If you are being triggered right now, it's really because your soul is saying, hey, it's time to level up. It's time to move beyond the ideas that you decided were true when you were 5 years old. Feel the feelings and then look at, what would I love? All things are possible. What would I love? I ask my clients to decide what they would love in life and then create an alter ego. There is a version of you who is already experiencing whatever you would love. How do I know that? Because if you can translate that energy with your imagination, that's energy. If you can translate that into thoughts, it already exists. Everything already exists, and there's a different version of you experiencing it. So who is that version of you? How does she think? What does she say about whatever is happening in your life? Is she calm and confident? Then be her now. Be her now or be him now. Everything in our lives where we say, well, this is how I am, this is who I am, it is all made up. It's just a story that you decided was true when you were little based on what was happening around you, how you were treated, how you were talked to, if you were praised or if you were criticized. You just decided, well, this is who I am. But it's not. It's all made up. Since everything is all made up, you can make up a new you and be her now, be him now, talk like him, have the confidence levels that he has. Create your own rules. That's another whole video. There are no rules. You could decide that every time you do a social media live, you change a life. You could decide that every time you smile, somebody in the world is changed because of the ripple effect. There are no rules other than the ones we make up. When we become intentional instead of just reacting, it enables us to create experiences that we love waking up to. We're off the hamster wheel when it comes to constantly reacting. We train our body to feel an unpleasant feeling, and then we drop into our hearts and pivot to what I would love. We constantly are telling particles of creation how to show up. And as long as we continue reacting, we're saying that thing I'm reacting to, oh, it's a thing, it's real. And the particles of creation say, okay, we'll keep that hanging around. We'll prolong that. So the gift of getting off the reactionary hamster wheel is coming to peace, calming your nervous system, pivoting to what you would love, and then you stay there and let the particles of creation go in that direction. We are making everything up, everything. And while most people in the world are trying to change their lives by changing circumstances, it just doesn't work. It's exhausting. And I don't know if in this new energy, if it will even continue to work. Our lives have always worked from the inside out. But we didn't understand that. This is not a new concept. And for you as an empath, you're on this leading edge because you feel things. You're so sensitive, most of you, that you feel things before anybody else does. You've got your antenna up saying, oh, fear. Oh, is this my fear or is that out there? No, I don't think it's mine. I don't really have anything to feel fear about. So you've tapped into the masses. What do? The same thing. Come on in, fear. Just move through me. Let's alchemize this to peace, to compassion. You do it now. You're just not aware that you're doing it. And if it is you, if your life is calling for you to up level, confronting situations where you feel out of control, not safe, all that stuff, instead of going into your head, trying to figure it out, or just letting the fear stop you, feel the fear, go into your heart. What would I love? That's what I would love. And you stay there. This is how we move through anything. And how do I know? Well, if you don't know me, I'm Wanda Vitale. I'm a certified dream builder coach and a quantum creation coach. And about 15 years ago, my life as I knew it collapsed. I walked out of a marriage with massive debt. I was in a business partnership with my ex-husband. I didn't know what I was going to do, where the money would come from. And then I had an accident because it was my time to get this. I couldn't walk. I couldn't work. I then did not have the methodology that I teach now. But this is it. We feel, we confront the old belief. I was telling myself I was going to end up on the street. I felt the fear. I kept surrendering it. At the time, I said, here, guides, we all have them. Figure this out. Let me know if I need to do anything. I felt the fear. I moved into peace when I surrendered it to my guides, to my higher levels. And then things just started to show up. My job was to stay in peace. And then I was an available receiver for the ideas. And then things just happened. Things that I could not have dreamed up happened. Opportunities showed up. I was introduced to people that changed my life. I ended up inheriting several $100,000 that if logic would have made it happen, it wouldn't have happened. For many people, it is the time just to feel what we feel, drop the story, move into peace, understand that most of you is non-physical, and it's the part of you that orchestrates everything. But it can't. When we wake up in the night and we're trying to figure it out, when we're contracted, everything that's amazing happens when we can drop into our hearts and then be a receiver. I understand that this can feel pretty scary when it feels like a lot is on the line. But I will tell you that if things are up in your life right now, it's because it's just time for you to know this and time for you to practice this. Again, it's not what we know. It is the actual physical, mechanical process that we go through of feeling, dropping into the heart as we drop the story, and then going to, and what would I love? We have to expect that we're going to be supported. And for those of us who have father issues like I did, that may be up for you. If you don't think that life is just going to support you somehow, it's only because you did not grow up that way. Our fathers are here to teach us that they are love in action, that we are always supported physically. If that's up for you, understand it's just time for you to move beyond that story. We are supported because we breathe, not because we have to do anything. We don't earn anything. We are supported because we are each spirit dreaming. And the key then in this and everything that I talk about is learning how to wake up from the dream and use the dream. Awakening is just the beginning. The real process is embodying what you know. And that's the moment by moment management of these old survival responses, dropping into the heart and then pivoting to what would I love here? What would I love? And then holding that long enough so that the particles of creation that you are always directing can start to form. This is how we do it, friends. It's a great thing to be an empath, and it's an amazing thing to be an empowered empath because we are on the leading edge of these massive energies that are here to deliver quantum leaps for us. We're here for the joy and for the fun and for the ease. Thanks for listening. And if you haven't hit subscribe, do that. Share this with someone else who you might think would benefit from this. I know a lot of people are being triggered right now because of what's happening in the world. And it's just part of the process to deliver each and every one of us to sovereignty, to deliver us to the magic that's possible when we stop trying to figure things out and just realize that our part is to look at what we prefer, like putting in an order at a restaurant, and then staying in peace, staying in receiver mode so that we know what to do, when to do it. The perfect strategy lands in front of our nose. Everything that we could ever want shows up. But we have to learn to be the one who chooses, the one who's willing to feel it all and who chooses rather than reacts. Thanks for listening.